Ada, thank you very much for joining with us today. We have a very special edition here at Ivy Connect over Ivy Global Campus. Um, with me, I have Mr. Arshad Rafai, who's actually a very special guest. We were actually pretty lucky to get him here on the show. But let me just give you a few details of who actually Mr. Rafai is. So he's the founder and CEO of R&R Knowledge Solutions, an organization obviously committed at the very maximum to leveraging knowledge for everyone here who's currently trying to pursue something greater. Now I understand that he has a massive influence and a very big background in terms of what he preaches and what he's built overall. Now obviously I don't want to take too much of time introducing him, so please, Mr. Arshad, how do you do today?
I'm really good. Thank you so much, Lassen, for having me on this program. So, yeah, it's been wonderful being a part of this venture. So, I look forward to a lot that's going to happen in the future.
Great. Any now in terms of what you're currently doing now, so I believe you've started many initiations like this itself. Can I say what is your drive behind this? You pursued multiple institutions like this as well, right? Previously, now in this case, what is your inspiration to starting Ivy Global Campus?
All right. So, when you take inspiration, so inspiration per se, first and foremost, it's the lives of the students, right? I've seen a lot of students, especially in the country, who certainly have the passion, who certainly have dreams in order to get a degree in hand, but maybe they have not got the right opportunity, they've not been able to be exposed to the right information, and of course, due to financial constraints, many of them have not been able to achieve. I believe the fact that yes, of course, there could be classes, there could be a gap in the income distribution, but yet every individual, every soul, and of course every parent would certainly have dreams for their children to be making sure that they prosper in life one day. So that has been my greatest inspiration. Then of course, when it comes to being one of the pillars of inspiration, it's my mother, in fact, who certainly has been always in the run of making sure that we provide education to everyone, making sure that every education is something that certainly will uplift one's future and of course one's career, which will certainly be able to speak volumes when it comes to their generation. Then of course my beloved wife, who certainly inspires me to be able to do or run on this particular race that is so called the education realm, because she herself has been an inspiration to thousands and thousands of students, being a science teacher, the most renowned in town right now, being able to provide them with free education, being able to provide with education at a very affordable rate, uplifting, being able to produce in excess of over 100 A grade students for the last 2 consecutive years. So she certainly has been an inspiration to many, and of course, the backbone of my inspiration in being able to put up Ivy Global Campus.
That's great. I really admire the fact that you're very humble enough to know that it's all your humble beginnings and roots that's actually driving you to provide this same thing to everyone who's not had that chance, obviously. Because as a matter of fact, I agree, not a lot of people, not a lot of children out here today do not have the same kind of reach that many of us do as well in today's day. So now I understand in Ivy Global Campus, sorry, you have multiple programs that you offer in terms of what a student can actually select, right? Can you just give us like a brief overview of what, let's say I'm a new student who's actually, I'm excited, I'm trying to start, I don't know what I want to do, what do I get to pick from, what do I get offered?
Right. So when it comes to Ivy Global Campus, it's not just yet another institution or a campus or a university that matter, but Ivy Global Campus is an institution that is quite different from the other private institutions that are actually providing academic programs. We don't call ourselves a campus that provides academic programs alone. but we also provide professional qualifications, which also has a blend of vocational education. So why do we actually have an approach as such? Is because we wanted to ensure that every student who walks through our doors should be able to not just complete their education, but also be able to step into their dream career. They should be able to start something of their own, or either find themselves an employment, not just, celebrate over a piece of paper alone. So that's not something that we're looking at. And talking with regards to the program that we are planning to offer, we have a plethora of programs that we are planning to offer. When it comes to the academic qualifications, we certainly do have management programs, marketing, we have HR. Then we also are looking forward to explore information technology. And when it comes to vocational education, there will be programs such as beauty culture, hairdressing, we have mobile technicians, then we do have preschool teaching, then hotel management. So there's a lot for a student to choose from. And we ensure that the academic qualifications that they're going to be able to acquire will also be supported with this vocational education as well, which certainly will get them industry ready for them to take up the world.
I do understand, and to be honest, I really like that you provide something other than just academic qualifications, because as we all know, there's a numerous number of universities that provide the same marketing management and so on, these programs. But I think you've taken it like a step further in terms of providing something. See, for example, you never know if a student, he might start just for a course like business management and so on, but then who knows, when he does these vocational programs, he might actually be very, very talented in, let's say, hotel management. So I think you've taken it that far for even a student to realize, oh look, this is what I'm good at, and even just experimenting with other things is a massive opportunity that you guys overall give to the students. So that is very impressive overall. Now let's talk about the academic qualifications. So I believe you provide these standards in terms of what's on par with the international level, right? Can I know how you manage to do that in terms of keeping up with the, let's just say, legislations and certifications of what's there abroad over here at your campus?
So when it comes to accreditations, I believe you have to have accreditations in order to make sure that you provide a legal background to what you're providing. Because what happens in some institutions, right, I do not want to pick, but then what happens is it's just going to be a piece of paper that has been just designed by the institution themselves. And in fact, we do have a program that we certainly have developed ourselves as well. But again, it was not just developed by a couple of random individuals, but with professors, doctors who have been a part of the academic realm, who has understood, who has been in the academic fraternity. We, in fact, have developed an academic program which is a level 3 UK qualification and also a Sri Lankan according to the Sri Lankan qualification framework. It's also a level 3 qualification that we have, which we are introducing to the O-level students who will be sitting for their O-levels. I mean, they just started their O-levels and it's going on. So in fact, we have introduced a international foundation diploma, which we call as the International Foundation Diploma in Corporate Environment and Business Development. Why is it Corporate Environment and Business Development? Because this is a program that we just curated for the just after O-level students who happen to be just after school and still in school. So this is a program that certainly will transform them to being a boy to a man.
Yeah.
Because today what happens, a student happens to finish their O-levels, A-levels, or pretty much high school, and then they step into the corporate world, and without no introduction, they don't know what happens in a corporate world. And then a lot of students actually give up, and some of them actually get into mental depression because all this while they have been dependent, and then you become independent all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You have to actually make calls for yourself. So this diploma that we're talking about, the foundation diploma in corporate environment and business development, we have been able to design it in a manner that the students who happen to have completed their O levels will be able to get themselves into this program and be exposed to what would certainly be happening in a corporate environment. What could they actually expect? How does the finance division look like? How does the marketing division look like? How does the management division look like? And as part of this particular diploma, we also do have a short internship program. It's like an activity workshop program where we get these students who have enrolled with us to also go into companies to see what do their finance division looks like. What do they do actually? What does their marketing division look like? And what do they do there? To get an understanding of what the corporate environment could certainly offer. So you're ready before you actually, get into the real world to see, okay, this is what I can expect. And if you can certainly anticipate something, you can be better prepared. And this is what we provide to our students. In addition to that, of course, this particular program, we are planning to have it accredited by the University Grants Commission, the local body, and of course the Tertiary and the Vocational Education Commission, which is TVEC, and also from a UK government body. The reason as to why we are doing all of this is to make sure that we provide some legitimacy to the program that we are looking at, and also to make sure that the moment you step into, you are just there in order to get your career started, and you don't have any confusions when you start your career. And this certainly will add a lot of value to your resume, and you will certainly secure you a placement in top companies.
That's funny. I actually agree with that a lot, because one thing that I've seen nowadays is a lot of children who's actually finished even their A levels at this point, but they get let's say they apply for a job, they go for an interview, let's say they get the job, right? But when they actually get into a corporate environment, it's very different as to how a university is, as to how school was, right? Because it's very competitive. You have to know how to deal with people, and you have to know how to make, like you said, calls for themselves. And that's something that traditional education does not offer. That we get all the theoretical data and all that, but I think that's something that needs to be incorporated in students much more, which I love the fact that you as an institution do that from the early on, because I feel like even later on in their life they will just credit you guys more, because that foundation of getting that early on will, who knows, they might end up being a CFO. They might just start as an intern and then end up being a CFO, but they don't realize that training that you gave was the kind of like the well that provided the water for everyone, right? So I believe in terms of the opportunities as well, you told me you provide an internship program. So is that like career opportunities that you provide after the educational part of it itself? So let's say someone graduated from your program, so you provide internship opportunities, you provide exposure for companies. How does that work?
So in fact, from our programs, whatever the program that we're actually planning to offer, all these programs will certainly be able to support students being placed in jobs, or let's say when it comes to internship opportunities, at least, because we're looking at to place them at least in a 3-month or a 6-month internship program. The programs that we have been able to choose, we have been very careful in choosing them. So that's the reason as to why we have a blend of academic, professional, and vocational education. And the vocational education is the arm that certainly will get them placed in jobs, because we believe in internships, or whether once their program is done, all this theoretical knowledge to be converted to practical knowledge, and that could certainly be done only if you're being placed in a job. So that is what we look at doing so. But again, it's not just that we're going to place every student who's going to join our program. because we believe that we have to build or nurture competent individuals.
Yes.
So we have a threshold. We will certainly be able to have a mark, let's say around 75%. I'm just giving you a random mark. It might differ from program to program.
Yeah.
So let's say 75%. And if you do score 75% from the internal assessment that we actually conduct from the program, then of course you will fall into the cadre of being placed in internships. So this is a kind of value addition and a special feature that Ivy Global Campus certainly can give a child uh, in order to get his or her future sealed.
Yeah, and who knows, even that might be part of the reason they actually strive for that 75%, knowing that, look, this is an internship at a very esteemed corporation and I want to get it. So let's say he might actually, put even more effort to try and get that. So I love that you've kind of incentivized, even just getting a grade on a paper to know what it's actually like to get an opportunity into the real world, right? Now, you mentioned in terms of the programs that you provide, I believe there's a majority, there's a plethora of areas that you cover, right? So, what, in your opinion, what do you think your graduates will have the most, let's say, upper hand, the let's say the underdogs? Which industry do you think that will actually allow them to kind of give them a stepping stone into a much higher place compared to anywhere else?
So, in fact, we've not actually confined ourselves to areas of expertise alone. We are exploring, expanding. We start with, yes, quite a few. For an example, we do have a program from ABE UK. So, that's the Association of Business Executives UK, because we are an accredited center in UK to be able to do programs related to ABE in Sri Lanka. So certainly speaking, our parent company R&R Knowledge Solutions. So that's the reason we call ourselves as Ivy Global Campus by R&R Knowledge Solutions. Because R&R Knowledge Solutions is the parent company, and Ivy Global Campus is certainly the higher education arm of the company. So R&R Knowledge Solutions is an accredited center for ABE UK in Sri Lanka to be able to provide their programs. So we provide programs in management, marketing, and HR, and we do also provide programs with regards to a business startup. It's a level 3 qualification. So we're looking at programs which are quite different from the ones that are there, the usual ones that are there in the market. So furthermore, in information technology, we are looking at providing with an entry level program. We're also looking forward to providing coding programs, because we believe that coding from a tender age is super important. And also we're looking at health sciences is also something that we're looking at for to be able to open up avenues for those students, especially for those students who have actually opted the bio stream for A levels and not being able to actually get themselves placed in a university or a state university. We obviously will be able to open doors for them to be pursuing a program which is of private nature in health sciences. So these are some of the programs that we certainly are looking forward to provide. And from what I mentioned at the very outset, there are other vocational education programs as well, which we are making sure that we provide to all the target markets out there, not leaving anyone behind.
That's great. And let me just point out the fact that you did mention, aside from the programs that you currently have, you do specialize in terms of business startups and, let's just say entrepreneurship in that matter. I don't see that a lot in today's universities at all. So I just want to know, I'm just curious myself, in terms of, let's say a program like that, how would a student be, let's just say he's starting out and or he or she, we never know, is actually interested in starting an IT company. Like you said, coding is very, very important in today's fast-paced world, right? So in your sense of business and the market as of now as well, how would your programs in that aspect, in terms of entrepreneurship, business, coding, that digital aspect of it, how would they tally up in giving them the right tools to kind of make a name for themselves in this current world?
That's a good question. So in fact, when you take IB Global Campus, we are different not just with one element, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there is a tendency that we might call something saying that, okay, fine, this is our competitive advantage, or this is something that we do as our unique selling proposition, or anything of those lines.
Yeah.
Ivy Global Campus itself as a whole is different. Why? Number one, like I told you, we provide academic, professional, and also vocational qualifications. Number one. Number two is the fact that they are all accredited and reputed from local institutions that actually cover the legal framework of the country, and also from international bodies which certainly are also pegged to their government bodies. So coming to the question of entrepreneurship, one of the significant features is, like I told you, the opportunities in terms of the avenues that we provide in terms of the education and qualifications. The next best thing is that we always are looking forward to create more and more entrepreneurs. Why? Because yes, if you're going to actually get someone tailor-made for a job, yes, that certainly will help one to be able to do so. But again, based on culture, based on the demographics, there could be some children, maybe let's say a girl, who certainly cannot step out into getting into a corporate world,
Yeah.
but still has the passion, has the determination to be able to do something different. In such case, we make sure that we provide some vocational education so that that individual will be able to start up something on their own, in order to be able to do it from the very comfort zone, maybe from a home, and be able to do something. So what we're looking forward is, at any circumstance, may it be financial constraint, may it be culturally confined, or maybe due to some weakness or anything on those lines, maybe let's say differently able students,
Yeah.
we would want to make sure that everybody receives education. So our motto is global education made affordable, and not just made affordable, but made accessible to all as well. So we are providing programs where students are being prepped up in order to get into any industry, of course, based on the area of specialization they have chosen, and be able to do them well, work elsewhere, get some experience, but be able to start their own. So we want self-made entrepreneurs. So that is what we are looking for. So more we create, and being citizens, if they could certainly do well in their businesses, that certainly is going to also help the economy of the country. So
Yeah.
I believe in something where I just don't look at, okay, it's just the head of the state or the regime that is there at the moment who certainly have to do all the hard work.
Yeah.
They've been doing their maximum, they've been trying. But every individual has an obligation, has a right to be able to contribute equally to the economy as well. And that's where I believe an economy could certainly be built.
That's great. And it's lovely the fact that, you're not very confined to a certain structure. You're very flexible in terms of what you provide to a certain student, because obviously we understand different people have different needs. And like you said, there might be a person who may opt for, not the usual route, maybe start up something of their own. And in my opinion, a person like that, having your kind of institution, or your that gentle nudge, the support of, look, don't do this way, this is how it's done, even that slight adjustment might make ripples to a huge wave in the future. So I love the fact that even as an institution, you provide very accessible kind of insights to what the actual world is, even in areas like that, apart from the usual academic qualifications out there. Now, what I wanted to actually get into this earlier today. In terms of the university itself, obviously we have the academics part of it. We have to go to our lectures and all that. But of course, university is a lifestyle, right? Aside from the paper part of it, or the academic part of it, what other, let's say activities, extracurricular activities, sessions, what do you have going on in terms of a new student who might join? What can they expect from Ivy Global Campus?
True. I mean, like, I believe in the saying, no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? So certainly speaking, we look at developing a student not just by providing academics, like as Lassen very rightly said, but also the fact that we make sure we have two classifications when it comes to extracurricular. One is about building skills related to the 21st century, right? 21st century skills, for example, something that I really believe in, that one needs to be, adjusted when they're very young. So at Ivy Global Campus, we have programs such as the Ivy Lead program. Ivy Lead program is certainly a public speaking program where we develop leaders, we develop the voice of tomorrow. So it's not just getting them to prepare a speech or anything on those lines. We provide them with the opportunity to be able to express themselves in any format of life. For example, we get to know a lot of students having a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, an MPhil, maybe also a PhD. But when you go to an interview, a corporate interview, the student is unable to make it through. Why? Because you're not being given the right skills when they're actually preparing themselves. So that's number one when it comes to providing extracurricular to our students. Then also we do provide them with leadership skill workshops and also analytical skills, decision making skills, because these are very important skills that a student should be able to develop from a very young age. And moving on to the physical activities, and of course we are looking at sports. So we have an annual futsal tournament that we organize for our students, so we're looking forward to also continue it, and that goes as part of our group. That's one. And then we're looking at having inter institutes or universities or campuses cricketing tournament, then badminton, swimming. So we are looking at exploring all of these options to our students to be able to give them a well-rounded experience than just going to be a mere qualification.
I do understand, because even me as a person, I do feel like even as a student, just doing the paperwork, I might just be excited just to go play badminton afterwards, right? So I do understand that part and what you provide as university, as you should, in terms of giving that kind of a whole lifestyle to a student overall, right? So now you told me in terms of the balance of academics and student engagement. Now your whole ideology is that you provide education for everyone. I understand everyone does not have the same life. There are people, students who are not even able to afford what they're going to eat tomorrow. They do not know what they're going to do for their finances. Their parents are struggling, especially with the economy and what's going on in the current day. We never know what these children may have on their plate that they're not able to reach out to anyone for. So do you, as a institution that kind of embody this aspect of providing education for everyone, what kind of, let's just say, helping hand, what kind of services do you give someone who actually needs it at the very most?
So when it comes to helping students be able to get access to the education, because we know for a matter of fact private education is quite an exorbitant affair. So in such case, what we do is we make sure that we relax or we actually ease the burden of the financial constraints that a student can certainly face. Of course, when it comes to our program fees, they're very reasonable. So we make sure that we have been able to curate the program in a manner that there's more value addition to the investment that has been made. The return on investment is going to be great. That's number one. And how are we going to actually make it easy for all students is that we're going to provide scholarships. Yes, of course, there are other institutions that provide scholarship, and why Ivy Global Campus is different is because we are not just going to limit it to, let's say, an 8-month or a 10 months equated installment payment for a 4-year degree program. So if it's going to be a 4-year degree program, of course the student gets the right to pay for the entire 4 year. So if you're going to spread it across to the entire 4 year, then you certainly can bring the per monthly cost that the student has to certainly bear. So which actually makes it affordable and also accessible to all. So this is the format, this is the approach that we certainly are going to take, the strategy, in order to make sure that we not just uh, pronounce that education is going to be made accessible, but I'm just giving you out the strategy as to how we are planning to do it as well. So we would certainly want to walk the talk.
Great, great. And in terms of what you said as well, someone who's, doing a 4 year degree, for example, actually having the benefit of doing it for 4 years of a period, I believe that can actually give, now, since you provide vocational education, leadership skills training, and, what it's actually like to be a corporate environment, I believe that even a student can actually be able to, be self-supportive of themselves. They can work and they can, because if you look at it in a mathematical way, I believe it, even a 4 year degree broken down into 4 years can actually, amount to a certain cost that they themselves can, work maybe part time or try and do something that way. And I believe that kind of an approach, even as a student, that can be very, 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 beneficial on how they, proceed in their career overall, right? So, in terms of the campus overall, can you tell us a little bit of, the faculty here at Ivy Global Campus? I believe you provided us an oversight of, what's going on, what's the backbone of the campus. So, how, if a student enters today, what can they expect to see at the faculty?
So when it comes to Ivy Global Campus, we've been very careful in designing our infrastructure. Especially, it's not just about the building, it's not just about the furniture, but it's about a lot more than that. For those students who are physically present and also for those who are remotely. So, what we have done in terms of the infrastructure is, in fact, Ivy Global Campus is situated in the Hivala and in a prime location just next to the Apico Super Center of the Hivala. And we could find the bus halt just right next to the institution. So, which means it makes it easy for anyone traveling to be able to come to the doorstep rather than do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Right. And also when it comes to parking, there are parking spaces that you certainly can explore. And furthermore, looking at the infrastructure within the institution, the furniture have been able to be opted. We've actually opted for some world-class facilities in terms of the furniture that we put, and we do have the other usual facilities like the projectors, and of course the classrooms are extremely hygienic, and they are hygiene intensive. We're making sure that they're all clean at all times. We have IP cameras that we've set up in order to make sure that we stream these in-person classes, and not just where students will be able to see the lecturer from joining from yet another laptop, but also the IP cameras will certainly be able to project the real classroom experience that a student who physically gets. So the online student is also much more attracted and also could actively be engaging. So these are some of the infrastructure facilities that we have in order to make sure that the student experience is enhanced to its maximum. So this is what we actually offer, and there are a lot more that we are planning to as we go on in this journey.
Great. So I just want to touch on that. So you did explain now in terms of your premise of providing affordable education for everyone, right? There might be students who are, maybe I do understand Devala is a great location. It's at the hub spot. You ask anyone in Sri Lanka where Devala is, if they're in Colombo, they would know where Devala is, right? So I believe in terms of that, you guys have perfected the location wise as well. And in terms of the kind of blended realities that you give, for example, someone who's far away, who's actually able to afford the education, giving them that let's just say feel of a real classroom is something that discourages a lot of students. When they don't know, when they just see a screen and just someone speaking over and over, I do understand, even you might get just discouraged a little bit. It gets boring sometimes. So I believe even a new approach like what you have implemented at Ivy Global Campus might just be the game changer for the years to come, right? So lastly, Now I'm curious. So Ivy Global Campus have a lot of these, missions and visions that you have incorporated yourselves, right? Or sorry, you're let's just say you're surrounded by individuals who are, let's say, knee deep in what you preach. You come from a very very good background, and you come from people who know what it's like to actually have a good education, have a bad education, have to claw their way to get education. You get what I mean? So in your words, what do you think is next for Ivy Global Campus? What's coming? What's on the way? What's up?
So, in fact, as I said, IB Global Campus is a part of a group of companies. So, in fact, it's a network. So, RNR Knowledge Solutions is the parent company. So, we, in fact, not just open up institutions, we make sure that we streamline education. So, we have an academic coaching arm, which we call as Satya College. And we certainly provide academic coaching for students from grade 6 all the way up until A levels. So what we provide is we provide tuition, and how we do that is not just like a regular tuition, but we also make sure that we provide proper materials. We do check books of students, making sure that they actually have done their work during class, because I know this is going to be something addition to what they actually gain from school.
Yeah.
But again, there is some sort of an investment that is made by parents, so I believe that we have to be able to give back a lot more for the amount of effort that we actually put. So grade 6 to 13 is covered by Satya College, which is the coaching arm of the institution. And then we have IB Global Campus just after A levels, or maybe after O levels with an international foundation diploma, or just after A levels with a level 4 diploma. A student certainly can actually acquire their higher education, not going anywhere else, just right away in the very same group under Ivy Global Campus. And that's the purpose as to why we wanted to actually set up Ivy Global Campus. So students who are actually moving from our academic coaching arm can certainly also pursue with Ivy Global Campus when it comes to securing the higher education. And furthermore, we always believe in one thing, that's especially when it comes to research. The word research, the moment I say the word research, a lot of people think that they imagine someone getting into a lab coat and doing some experiments. That's not the research that we're talking about today. Research meaning systematic study. So it's a pathetic situation that a lot of students today, having even secured bachelor's, master's, MPhils, do not know how to do proper research. So we do have R&R conferences where we promote students to be able to engage in research. And in order to engage in research, we also have short courses done by extremely esteemed profiles in the industry, or extremely esteemed researchers in the industry, who sits with us as part of our Academic Integrity Council. Because our Academic Integrity Council is a composition of elite professionals, academicians, and people from the policy level, all under a single umbrella, to making sure that what we provide at Ivy Global Campus is evaluated at all times, and the best out of the best is provided. So when I sum up the journey, a student starting at let's say from grade 6 to 13 would be able to get academic coaching from our academic arm. Then they'll be moving on to Ivy Global Campus in order to make sure that they secure their higher education, and then eventually moving into the research fraternity, be able to, because if you're supposed to be securing a master's or an MPhil or a PhD, you certainly need to present in an international conference. So we provide the conferences ourselves with international bodies, and through the conferences you can participate, present, and then eventually publish in reputed journals. So we do have short courses as to how you should be engaging in research, how should you be able to curate or design your papers so that you can increase the chance of publishing in reputed index sources like the Scopus, ISI, and so on and so forth. So all in all, when you mention education, it's not just about learning, but we make sure that education is streamlined across all the phases in life, so that you don't have to go to tens and thousands of places. You can just do all of it in one single place, and that's where we call as Ivy Global Campus.
Amazing. Now, I heard that you said even things like research and stuff like that. It really goes to show what a lot of what goes unseen, right? These things are oversights of what we currently face today. Because, like I said earlier, there's a lot of people who actually graduate who have legislation certifications, but they don't know what it's actually like. The deep concepts of what is actually needed to go through with these. So you told me that in terms of the pathway that you provide, right? So for example, let's say I'm a sixth year student starting at 6, and then I understand that you have Sateha College going from till the A levels level, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then from there on you have the academic arm with Ivy Global Campus, right? So I understand, even in a parent's perspective, like let's say I have a good experience, I gain good grades in terms of my O levels, A levels. You could say that even the parents of that particular student have a kind of confidence, saying that, okay, look, if they're the same people that he was going to earlier, that's great. They have that confidence of knowing what the results of what you provide as a body, right? Because I understand you not only just give education, you not only just give you that academic kind of background, but you also take it a step further. Okay, so lastly, can I know, now there's students watching this from all over Sri Lanka as well. What do you have to say to someone who's actually listening to this, understanding what you're saying, understanding the backgrounds, who has that little light in their head to kind of I want to do this. This is where it changes for me. What do you have to say to the students, the prospective students who are out there, who's looking for a light to shine on them?
The message to all the students out there, all what I could tell you is, the world out there is highly competitive. You can't even imagine. It's no more a joke. The reason as to why is because we have CEOs at the age of 10, 13. So students who happen to watch this program, especially must be from, let's say, just about to sit for their O-level exams, just after A-levels, looking forward to make their mark in the corporate world. You have to be able to be wise enough to choose the right pathway for yourself. Do not think that when it comes to education, it's just a program that has been marketed somewhere and then you go enroll yourself. You don't do that. It does not necessarily mean that you have to come to Ivy Global Campus, but this is a message in general. If you are going to figure out a pathway, if you're going to define a pathway for yourself, you need to do research. But before you do research, first understand 3 things within you. Your passion. What would you like to do? What is that certainly is going to make sure that's going to keep you happy throughout the journey? Because when it comes to life, when it comes to a career, it's not a 3-hour movie. It's just going to be a lifelong thing. And time is super important. So if you are going to choose something, make sure that it actually aligns with what you like to do. That's your passion. Then also make sure the level of competency that you have. What are you capable of? For an example, if you don't stand blood, you can't become a doctor. If you're afraid of heights, you cannot become a pilot. So you need to make sure what is that you have within you, the innate ability and the level of competency. Meaning, if you're not good with numbers, then of course you can't do engineering. If you're not good with science, you obviously cannot do medicine. So you have to be able to understand all of it. But I'm not actually discouraging, you're not supposed to be doing, but if you are to, you have to be well determined. You have to look forward to what is that you can do extra in order to make sure that you actually close the gap. So for students, be very wise in order when it comes to choosing, because today, in the name of advertising, in the name of promotions, there are a lot of things that comes to you your way. Not everything that glitters is gold. So you have to be able to make sure that you do the right call, and do not ever think that you're too young to make a decision. And of course, always and always consult your parents. And for parents, of course, do not confine your child to the boundaries and say that you're supposed to be doing this. This is what we can actually afford. This is what we can actually give you. Not really. Ivy Global Campus is here to listen to you, to listen to your stories, because we wanted to make a change, a difference in the lives of not just one student, but to all of them. So, my message to students and parents is be very wise when it comes to making a decision pertaining to structuring or constructing your life or your child's life. So that's pretty much a command.
That's a very moving message to anyone that is actually, listening to this, in terms of what they could provide. Even parents, even prospective students that, who's looking for a helping hand. Just know that there are institutions like this. There are individuals like Ms. Sharshad, who's taking things a step further, who's listening to the actual problems of, what people nowadays have, and giving them the helping hand, that they need to kind of get that little step up the ladder, so that they can keep climbing onwards. So just with ending with us, with Ms. Rashid, I do want to give a huge vote of thanks for him to joining us today. I do understand I was able to speak to him a bit earlier this today as well. He's a very lovely individual and very rooted in what he is and what he says. He certainly walks the talk, as I said earlier, right? So ending this in a very lovely note, I hope that anyone who's watching this, anyone who's looking for that kind of help that you need, just know that you can reach out. There's lots of us who are waiting to encourage you with open arms, invite you with open arms. So there's nothing, absolutely nothing that's actually holding you back. So with that said, we're all watching you from afar, and we're all rooting for you. Thank you. Have a very, very lovely evening.